What does it mean to be at peace? That's not the matter what one reason today. So peace normally they describe a state of tranquility, quietness, um, security, stability, all those good things. But as I dey ask myself this question, what does it mean to be at peace? I dey remember one thought when I get about 2 years ago, around the time when this current war between Israel and Palestine, when it is start, that 2 years ago. So as visuals from Palestine they circulate, you know, I was looking at some of the visuals around that time where they circulate. As I was looking through them, I could begin to think, say, man, wetin e go be like to, like, what must it be like to dey stay this kind country, to live in a country like this while trying to live a peaceful life, you know, a life that you intentionally optimize so you can experience more peace. What must it feel like to live in that country while they drop bombs, on a daily basis, as somebody where wants a more peaceful life? I thought about losing family members. I thought about losing friends. I thought about losing colleagues. And I thought about the possibility of staying peaceful while that was happening. And it felt very unlikely. It felt very unlikely that I'd be losing all these people and I'll still be able to stay very peaceful on the inside. But the thing is, I'm not actually sure that I want to get to a place like that. I'm not actually sure I want to get to a point where I'm able to experience that kind of loss and not be affected by it at all. I'm not even sure that if I somehow get to a place like that, that I'll be able to live with myself. You know, like if I'm going to aspire to something, I would rather want to aspire to an equal balance between the physical and the spiritual instead of leaning to one side only of the spectrum, be it the spiritual or the physical. You get. So, with that said, what would balance look like for someone? Say, for example, this is a real situation. This is someone who wants more peace in their life, and so they've optimized their life so they can experience more peace. But they live in a society like this, in a country like this, where this is happening to them. What would balance look like for someone like that? Personally, if I were to fill those shoes, I think it would look like me engaging with that issue, like what is happening in my environment. It would look like me engaging with it physically to try and stop it, that assault, try and stop it, right? While also using the tools that I have, from my self work, from my spiritual practices or involvement, the tools I have learned for self regulation, right? Use those tools for self regulation while also engaging with that issue physically to try and stop it. So I'm going to carry two things at the same time. If you get clear mind, it will help you as you dey engage with that kind of issue physically. So that's for me what balance would look like. Engaging with the issue and then using my spiritual tools that I have to keep myself clear, centered, and grounded while I engage with it. It's very likely that the approaches that I would use to engage with the issue would be very effective if I was clear headed or if I am clear headed at the time when I come up with those approaches or those strategies. I think that is what balance would look like for such a person. You know, spirituality should not become a vice that we now use to escape life. Vices, what do they use them for normally? Not to move away from the chaos where they go on inside our heads, even if it's just momentarily, just to escape and take a break from life and Iwala just for a moment. That's not why we do use our vices. But spirituality and self work does give you those same results. If you provide you with those same results. So if we only lean in that direction as though that's all we want or that's what's more important to us, rather than looking for a balance somewhere in the middle of the spectrum between the physical and the spiritual, then if we begin to use them as vice to escape life. So now we don't talk all these things about peace, about what balance should look like ideally, at least in my mind. Now we don't talk and reach that point. Make we try address the question: what does it mean to be at peace? With all these things considered, with life and how dynamic it is, with that taken into consideration too, I think what it means to be at peace will be us taking the peaceful moments that life gives us, right? We take them when life presents them. And we also curate our life and optimize our lives in ways where will allow us experience more peace. Whether it be through the activities that you do, the places that you go, how your schedule is set up, you curate it and optimize it for more peace. And then lastly, it would be it would mean us engaging with the adversities that life presents us, to change them, to resolve them, you know, after which we'll now return to our routines where they create more peace for our life. I think this is I think this is a more complete look on what it would mean to be at peace. You know, since we know if we control life, since it can be up today, down tomorrow, I think all these things put together, that is what it will mean to be at peace. Accepting that sometimes the peace will just be presented by life itself. Maybe that morning was just perfect, right? Everything about that morning where you wake up was perfect. It could be that you had to create it yourself to say, "Oh, at the end of every day, I go need to do this and that before I sleep, or I go need to do this and that to make sure say my day ends on a very chill, relaxed note. It could be that, and it could also be you engaging in that. I don't want to say fight, but engaging with that unpleasant event where life threw you inside. Engaging with it to resolve it and end it, so you can return to being at peace again. All of this experience, I think that is what it means to be at peace. You know, as I dey talk now, they consider how I dey think about how this conversation today connected to another conversation where in my mind what we will talk about in the future about power. I dey think about how it is connected. How more people with good intentions need to start to make themselves they comfortable with putting themselves in positions where decisions are made. You get how a lot of people with good intentions, the frustrations that they feel with the way the world is set up pushes them far away from positions where decisions are made, and how we may need to rethink that if we really want the problems that we have with the world, if we really want those problems to be resolved, we might need to rethink that that decision, that our decision to alienate ourselves from the system, from everything. We might need to rethink it, because people when no get good intention, when no get good intentions, are not going to make the right moves. They are not going to do the right things that needs to be done for the world to get to the position it needs to get to. Only those with good intentions who will do the right things even when nobody is watching. Only those people that go fit fix am, and they can only fix it when they are willing to get in positions where decisions are made. So as I dey talk about this, I just dey think about how the two conversations will be connected. But I go speak more directly on that one when I talk about power. This now all the thoughts when I get on this conversation about peace, what it means to be at peace. This is all the thoughts I have at this time. So I go stop for here, and I will see you for the next video.